Bert Schuiling. I'm heading up the key account management for financial institution and fintechs for Wirecard. Yes, how to benefit from the current payment trends. So first of all, Wirecard, just to give you a bit of an idea of where we're coming from when we talk about trends and payment and trends in the payment industry. So we see ourselves as an IT company with a bank license. We're founded in 1999. And in the meantime, we have over 5,300 employees worldwide. So we're present globally, and 45 different nationalities, very international company, 125 billion transaction volume and 2 billion revenues in 2018. We've entered the DAX also last year, so one of the 30 biggest companies in Germany. And we're proud we've grown that fast in the last few years. To give you a bit of an overview on which areas we are active, we are active in payment acceptance. We have a platform with a whole range of different payment technologies and payment schemes integrated on our platforms. Payment issuance as well, so we have a banking license in Germany and we've got an e-money license across the SEPA region. Outside SEPA region, many BIN sponsorships in place to be able to cover respective customers. Financial services, banking as a service, we sell white label platforms to various customers and we do software licenses to help especially fintechs to prevent a lot of work in red tape and to make sure that they're able to focus on what they do best, and that is bringing their products to the market and focus on their user interface and their own product, and we'll take care of the payment behind it. Value-added services, also a component, plug-and-play component on top of that. Good, so when we talk about trends, many of that is driven by, and this has been discussed in many of our previous contributions before, driven by PSD2. So a very strong focus on the implementation, as the previous round also mentioned, the implementation of the PSD directive ending in September last year, with a focus on 3DS 2.0 with two-factor authentication, strong customer authentication, and open banking, third-party provider access. So this is like, for us, a significant move in terms of setting trends and for companies at the brink of bringing new services to the market. And of course, also the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, is playing into that and is playing an important role into bringing those new services and spark new services in the industry. So when we talk about trends, we look at those 7 trends that we see and we define as mega trends. A lot of our strategy is built upon those trends that we see here. So first of all, cashless. Second, globalization of commerce and workforce. A third mega trend we see is platform economy. New mobility, frictionless commerce, internet technology, and artificial intelligence. So I'd like to quickly jump into those, continuing going forward. So cashless world. So first of all, when we talk about cashless world, there are a few drivers there. And one of the biggest drivers we see, of course, the ever-increasing growth of e-commerce. But secondly, also, as mentioned before, PSD2, new regulations, sparking new ways of payment. And especially when we look at the POS side, the cost of cash versus cashless is a driving factor for moving to cashless. This is what we see across the region, predominantly in the northern part of Europe, where cashless is more predominant than when we look at still at the German market, where cash is still king. Will not last long. We see there is a growing trend, and I think last year was the first year that the amount of payments by card overtook the amount of cash. So there is a clear trend there. And that's driven by the cost of cash versus cashless. There's another trend, and that's security, of course. Cash in stores as a security topic, but not to be underestimated is also the topic of transparency. When you look at the transparency scale that's published every year, it's striking that transparency, the countries that are leading the ranking of this transparency scale are the countries where there is little cash in circulation. So there is a clear trend on getting cashless in those countries where there is a clear trend towards transparency. And of course, there is like a growing demand for instant payments driven by the fact that we see a strong e-commerce growth. And that's all driving the whole topic of cashless world. Then the topic of globalization of globalization of commerce and workforce. So of course, the fact that international working and international trade is ever increasing sparks the demand for more international payment methods, more cross-border payments, and there we see that harmonization of KYC is going to play a crucial role. We also see that KYC is the oil for the payment industry, and currently we see still a lot of fragmentation in the KYC domain, but we see also a very strong movement to getting that harmonized in a better way. And then, as mentioned before, also high demand for instant payment and different payment solutions. And of course, the use of distributed ledger technologies, blockchain technologies is going to play an important role. It's going to play an important role in payment, definitely also, but outside payment, distributed ledger technologies definitely going to play a role in smart contracts, etc. So these are the trends that we see in terms of globalization for commerce and globalization of the workforce worldwide. Then there is a topic of platform e-commerce. So the network scale effects for end-to-end control is driving this. So what we see is that a lot of platform-based, and I'll get into a bit more detail later on in the presentation in how other countries are taking this up. Being able to control end-to-end is key for offering service to customers. We see that in many platforms that are very successful, being able to control the end-to-end journey for your customers. And able to offer value-added services that are there to keep the user retention low and focus on customer centricity are all only possible when we have a complete end-to-end platform strategy. Another trend that we've based our strategy on is the trend of new mobility. So we see definitely different new concepts in technology that allow for an increasing of digitization in the industry, and issues like mobility as a service are going to pop up in many countries, and where inevitably there will be an impact on the way people pay and payment methods and payment solutions that will arise in that domain that will spark trends in that domain. Definitely autonomous driving is also going to be revolutionized in terms of how people spend the time and how people interact with payments. And again, these topics like autonomous driving will develop and spark new ways of payment, new payment methodologies, and we feel that we as Wirecard are very well positioned in that market because we're present both at the issuing side as well as on the implementation side, as on the acquiring side, to be able to offer our customers a seamless experience in that domain as well. There's a lot of activities ongoing, especially now in the domain of e-cards and charging of e-cards and payment on that. We're playing a role in the forefront of those developments. Frictionless commerce. So for us, as a company, it is all about taking the hurdles out of the payment process. What we see is that the payment itself is going to disappear as an action. So we really see that payment as the interaction towards really initiating the payment is going to be less important over time. I think everybody knows, when you order an Uber, the payment process is smooth. Concepts like Amazon Go, where shops with beacon technologies don't actually have a payment process anymore. So here it's all about a smooth way of entering and onboarding customers and having a centralized place for payment instruments to be able to use all kind of biometric and biometric technologies to do identification to trigger the payment process when this is required. And then, of course, internet technology and open APIs. We've been discussing open APIs before, and we see a very strong trend here. So with the forecasted around 20% growth of connected devices, we'll foresee around about 80 billion connected devices in 2025. That, of course, has a tremendous impact on how payments are done, and that sets a clear precedence on how payment needs to be done and the technology is being used for that. So connected devices drive, of course, instant payment solutions, and of course, a key topic here is tokenization. So tokenization is all about making sure that secure data is being translated into a non-critical information to be used for payment. And tokenization is the key for this trend, and is what we are very much focused on already now in our systems. And then the last block, where we talk about artificial intelligence. So AI, it's all about collecting data and making sure that there is sufficient calculation power to make use of the different kinds of information. We see that in the industry, a clear focus needs to be on data and the consent of users to be able to understand what type of data they're producing and they're providing. At the other hand, it's important that this is being used for improving payment process. So artificial intelligence is basically already there. I think everybody knows the spam filters is nothing else than artificial intelligence. The keypads we're having right now is also a form of artificial intelligence, and additional data that we collect and can use for the payment process can help users having their payment process easier. So for the payment industry, of course, very important to have that amount of data to be able to develop better scoring and risk engines, all with the goal to reduce fraud. And of course, for the end users, artificial intelligence and big data plays a predominant role in helping to guide users through the payment process with all kind of better targeting in the shopping process. So these are just a high level of big trends that we see. Nevertheless, we see that the different countries worldwide have different approach to banking and to payment in their own ways. This morning I read an article about M-Pesa in Kenya. M-Pesa is, in the meantime, the amount of transaction volume generated by M-Pesa is 50% of the GDP of Kenya. So you see, in those banks, there have been very good solutions brought to the market where people were underserved, and the flavor of those banking is completely different than a flavor of banking in countries in Europe, of course. So different countries, different approach. Cultural differences also result in different flavors, and due to the fact that we are present in all those markets, we see those trends, and we offer, we'll be able to provide our users the possibility to use and to make use and to leverage those trends. Looking east, and I think this is especially something when we look at the different trends and how they're perceived in the different countries. In Europe, US, we see a very strong focus on different types of app and very segmented, each app with a different focus. And this is where I come to talk about platform. When we look at China, we got those superpower apps where one app covers all. We talk about WeChat and Alipay. So these are not individual apps. This is one app covering all the individual items here. So people using Alipay can buy their cinema tickets, and at the same time, in the same app, can also do their investments, do their mortgage payments, etc. So, as I said, platform technology, different trends in different countries, sparking different technologies and different trends in those markets. And when we look at China, of course, China is leading the current market in mobile payment. So 35% of mobile payments on the POS in China, mobile payment, strongly driven by basically two parties, Alipay and WeChat Pay. So the market is basically split between those two companies with a tremendous over 600 million active users. When we talk about and when we compare this, and this is what I just like to do to put things a bit into perspective, when we compare those with the volumes that we see here, 600 plus users for Alipay, 600 million plus users for Alipay, and 800 plus users for WeChat Pay, also compared to 127 million users that we see for Apple Pay, shows that there is like different markets and different uptake of those different technologies. I'd like to just give this perspective because I think that we as a global company are present in all those markets and are able to serve our customers better due to the fact that we have integrated a lot of these technologies and are able to serve customers and leverage those trends to help and bring innovative and creative solutions to the market. Thanks for your attention.